This series of videos will demonstrate how to splint a lamb's leg, for example in the case of a fracture. This first video segment we're demonstrating how to splint a lower front leg fracture, so from the knee or the carpus down. First thing we do is add cast padding, which is small cotton padding to protect the skin. We place a green splint on the back of the leg, regardless where the fracture is, below the knee. And then we're using vet wrap to basically secure the splint up against the leg. The principle of fracture repair is to immobilize the joint above and below the fracture site, and that can be accomplished simply with the cast padding, some vet wrap, and basically a green splint or potentially a popsicle stick type apparatus. We want to make sure it's padded, and we should have rigid stabilization so that the lamb can actually stand on it when it's completed. The second video segment is to demonstrate how we would immobilize a fractured front leg above the knee or carpus. So again, we're going to pad the skin with cast padding, which is just some cotton. Then we're going to use vet wrap on the lower part of the leg, the non-fractured portion, and we're going to wrap the leg up against the body. Right here we're actually going around the leg and then behind the elbow, back around the lamb, and we're securing with tension the leg up against the body. This would basically prevent the lamb from extending his shoulder, bearing any weight on the leg. We're going to add some white bandaging tape on top of that to maintain some of the pressure, and in both cases we would like to leave this on for about 2 weeks. Obviously in this case the lamb's going to figure out how to walk around on 3 legs. It take about 24 hours for the lamb to figure that out, so it might need help with nursing during that time. This third video segment is to show how to splint a hind limb, so this would be for a fracture below the hock. Again, we're going to pad the skin with cast padding, apply a green splint, and then we'll use the vet wrap to try to immobilize the joint above and below, similar to the front leg. So we're going to start out down at the bottom of the foot. We're actually going to leave just a little bit of skin exposed. We don't want this real tight because we don't want it to cause a tourniquet. At the same time, it needs to be tense enough to have rigid fixation. Once we get the assistant to hold the lamb close to her body, you can notice that the lamb is much more at ease. So the closer we can hold the lamb to us, the more secure it'll feel. And we want to wrap just above the hock. Again, we want to be able to maybe stick part of our finger above and below it, just so we have some space for swelling. In this case, the lamb, even with a fractured leg, should be able to bear weight on it almost immediately after putting the splint on. Again, and leaving the splint on for about 10 days to 2 weeks, and the fracture will be healed. We're now demonstrating in this fourth video segment how to stabilize a fracture above the hock. So again, we're padding the lower leg similar to what we did with the front leg. We're going to use some vet wrap. We're going to wrap it around the leg, and then we're going to pull the leg up against the body or fold it up similar to a chicken wing. So as you can see, we're wrapping it. Now we're going to go underneath the stifle and then back over the lamb. So the vet wrap goes underneath the leg, so it pulls it up close to his belly, and then we're wrapping over the top of the leg so it stays secure. This gets to be a bit more complex. We have the problem that we didn't have in the front leg, and we need to make sure the lamb can urinate if the lamb is a male lamb. So once we get the vet wrap secure, we're going to go ahead, and there are times where we may have to cut a little bit to allow the lamb to urinate, and we'll demonstrate that shortly. We may have to add a little bit of either elasticon or white tape to go ahead and secure that. The very end of a roll of vet wrap is folded over on itself, which is what I'm attempting to peel back. Sometimes it's just difficult to do, and maybe it's easier just to put a little white tape on. So typically in this situation I would go both I would put enough white tape on to make sure that the bandage doesn't slide forward nor rear. So I went way back by the hock, way towards the front by the foot. Now we're going to go ahead and flip the lamb over, and if it's a male lamb, we need to cut just a little bit of the wrap away so we can make sure he can urinate. Also, sometimes this gets extremely tight by the flank of the lamb, so we may want to take a scissors and just snip a little bit of the vet wrap to allow just a little more movement to the other limb, but yet still securely hold the fractured limb in place. And then the lamb, again, is going to take about 24 hours to kind of figure out how to hobble around on 3 legs. Many cases, these lambs will need to stay jugged with the ewe until that fracture is healed.